celebrating 15 years of this fine program. We're thrilled to welcome to the show the associate coach of the Winnipeg Jets, Scott Arniel, joins us. Scott, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. How are things in your world?
Hey, fellas. My world's all right now. I just got out of watching my granddaughter in dance class, so now I get to move on to some bigger things,
There's nothing more important than watching the youngins doing their thing. There's no question about that. Scott, we appreciate you joining us this morning. I guess we'll start with the news from yesterday. So, we know that, Chevy obviously acquires and the Jets acquire Sean Monahan. As the associate coach, sort of, how do you find out about that, and then sort of walk us through the emotions of finding out that your team has acquired a new asset that you can start using effectively with practice tomorrow.
Yeah. You know what? We probably started talking a couple of weeks ago with Chevy, Zinger, Larry, obviously the coaching staff, kind of who was sort of the balls that might be in play. Some of the players, obviously, it was Lindholm, it was Monahan, Henrique, those kind of names. Obviously defensemen are out there. And then it really came down. It kind of got, really moving here once we finished our last game against Toronto. A little bit of an arms race out west. I think that everybody's kind of looking at a lot of the same pieces, and Chevy just went to work, and obviously we got that done, and thrill for us. We all he talked to us all about what we thought about it, and obviously for us it was a piece that was missing from our roster, and we just felt it was a great move for us.
So when you acquire that piece or a piece in general, what do you do as the associate coach? So, do you sit down with the rest of the coaching staff and start brainstorming how you're going to, employ this new piece? Or, do you sit there and say, how is he going to fit? Sort of just generally when a new player is acquired by a team, what is your role, after that occurs?
Yeah, you know what? The first thing I did, actually, I reached out to Sean yesterday and talked to him, and told him how thrilled we were to be getting him, and how excited he actually is too to come. He's looking for be a big part of a playoff push. So that would be the first thing. The second part is for us, we've talked about it here in the last week and a half about line mates. How we use him. Obviously, he's a guy that can power play, penalty kill. We can use him in a lot of areas. We talked about maybe partners. What unit he might be with. Different things like that. So really, tomorrow we'll skate tomorrow after 2:00, and he'll be in town for that. So we'll kind of let him. He'll be pretty nervous, I'm sure, and excited, and we'll just kind of let him sort of flow into things. We got another good practice on Monday before we head to Pittsburgh. So,
Scott, we wanted to ask you about back in late October, of course, when you had to take over as head coach of the Jets. When Judy was sick and Rick had to step away from the team, and then obviously Rick came back. I believe your record was 9-2-2 as head coach of the Jets. So I would say that's pretty damn good. I think most Jets fans would agree with that. But just what was that like for you? Obviously, you probably, I imagine, didn't think twice about it, stepping in as the head coach. But just what was that period like for the team? Because obviously there was a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, this year was a little bit different than last year. Rick had kind of was out for a game here and a game there, and it was a little bit different in the sense that you knew he was going to be back, whether it was the next game or the next day. This was a little bit different. There was some uncertainty to this, and so it was really a little bit different. In the end of the day, it was great to get back in and kind of be the head guy and all that, but at the end of the day, this is still Rick's team, and it was going to be, and we knew that hopefully prayed and hoped that everything was going to go well with Judy, and it did. And we weren't sure if that was going to be 2 weeks, 2 months. We didn't know how long it was going to last. So we had, obviously the players were outstanding. They were so professional. They cared so much. They wanted to make sure that they didn't let Rick down. And, amongst us all, Lauer, Marty Johnson, we all kind of had our work to do, and, we got it done, and we kept that sort of the ship afloat while Rick was away.
You've got a long history here in Winnipeg, second-round pick of the Jets back in 1981, a player, of course, with the Jets for, I think, 4.5 seasons. Then you came back, played for the Moose, then you were a coach for the Moose. So what's it like being here in the city for this long? And what have you noticed the second time around that you didn't maybe appreciate the first time?
You know what? Yeah, this is my second home. Actually, it's funny because I've been away from Kingston so long. When people, first time I meet them, you're from Winnipeg, aren't you? And then it's kind of a sort of a running joke with my family. But at the end of the day, I've spent most of my life in Winnipeg. My wife is from here. It's just a scenario where I kind of, when with the coaching sort of carousel that kind of goes on in our business, I got an opportunity to go to some other teams to get some experience. Got it with the Rangers, got it with Washington, got it in Buffalo. So it was, everything kind of played itself out perfect last year when I got the opportunity to come back here. My kids are here, my are close by anyways. My grandkids are close. Everything kind of fell into place. And so for me, it was just, coming back, obviously, the first years of being a player, being the old Jets was the old building, great memories there. Now this is a whole new chapter, and, it's obviously, the game's changed a ton, and it's just, it's great to be back. And, I can see the whiteout last year for me was special, because of, the very first time it happened when we were playing Calgary, and so many memories ago, and it was awesome to see, and just wish we had gone, a few more rounds to continue to see that. But that was probably the biggest thing, just for seeing that again, kind of getting those juices flowing.
Scott Arniel is our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Scott, of course, is the Winnipeg Jets associate coach. Over your years as an assistant coach or an associate coach, how has the role changed? I mean, obviously, I think your interactions with the players and how you approach that has probably changed over the last 10, 15 years. But, personally, how have you adapted over that time frame?
You know what? I think the biggest thing is when I started with a grumpy old guy, Randy Carlisle, and there was that kind of, like what you said was what had to be done, and there was a lot more barking and a lot more, kind of do it this way. I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the last, I don't know how many years now I'm at this, 15, 16 years, the biggest thing for me is having to figure out your players, how they tick, building relationships with them, getting the most out of them, kind of sort of some give and take, and building. The biggest thing is the relationship. It's so much different now that you have to have these guys believing in what you're saying. You have to get them believing in how you're kind of approaching things, why you're doing things. They want to be a part of everything. They really do. They want to have a say in kind of how things go about on the ice, system, line mates, all those things. Obviously, you got to, how much you allow them to get away with. But at the end of the day, you do want to listen to their input, because they feel when they have the input, you're getting the best out of those players.
When you were a player, Scott, did you have any input at all, or did you just sort of coach said
No
what
chance.
you did and you went and did it?
No chance. I had John Ferguson. I mean, it was just like, be here, be there, do this, do that. And that's where the game's evolved. Now it's, it's certainly the players are a big part of what's kind of going on now. Hey, we just watched the skills competition there. That was a good move by McDavid. He made all the rules and then he won the thing. So it worked out perfect. So, but no, it's, the game has changed so much. These players are such a big part of it. That's in all major sports now. The players sell. The players are the guys that the people are coming to watch, and they're the ones that obviously are driven to to win championships. And you gotta have that cohesive working together. Making them feel special, be a part of it as well. I mean, certainly every professional athlete, especially hockey guys, our Winnipeg Jet guys, they know when we mean business, when there's things that we're maybe either ticked off about or where we have to improve. They get back to business and they recognize it, and they do a great job of doing it.
Scott, you obviously just mentioned the All-Star game, so we got to ask you about that. Of course, not only are Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuck at the All-Star game, but Rick Bowness is at the All-Star game, and obviously, Rick better than anybody. He's a very humble guy, and when it was announced that he was going to be the head coach, I thought it was so impressive that he basically deflected it away from him and said, like, this is about the team. This is about, you and Marty Johnston and Brad Lauer. But, I wanted to ask you just like, how special it is for you to see Rick get that opportunity to be the head coach at this year's All-Star game in Toronto.
Yeah, it's special. I mean, one of the thrills that we had a team meeting before a video session, and Rick had no idea, just before it was going to be announced, and I got to tell the players and Rick in front of everybody together that he was going to the All-Star game. And so he was pretty humble then too. He's been around the game for such a long time, and this is his first chance. It's kind of, it's ironic that this is his first opportunity. He's got the most games on an NHL bench. And I kind of laughed. The other thing we had to tell him, we kind of, Marty Johnson and Lau had to help us with it. But anyways, we had to make sure he knew who all the celebrities were. He knew who Michael Bublé was, but everybody else, he had to make sure that he did his homework in case he ran.
What about Tate McRae, Scott? Did Rick know who Tate McRae was?
No chance, not a chance. So he had to get filled in. I know his kids had to help him out too. He didn't want to, end up running into somebody and not knowing that. That's she's on your team. So be careful.
Scott, I have to ask you about Adam Lowry. What have you noticed? Obviously we've followed his career since he was drafted by the Jets, but how have you noticed how he's changed, or maybe how he hasn't changed now that he's wearing the C?
Wow, you know what? The thing I really didn't know, obviously, just coaching against Lau over the last few years, such a caring person, both on and off the ice. Really cares about his teammates. I know he does a lot of charities and whatnot. The biggest thing is when you throw a captain on the C on players, sometimes they think they have to be the captain for everybody, and he has to do everything for everybody else. And the one thing that he's done a fantastic job of is make sure that he's played his game first and foremost, and that's been awesome. He's been right up there as one of our best players all year long. And then his leadership, just the way he talks, not only us as a coaching staff, the respect, also how he talks to his teammates, just to see him evolve. I know somebody said way back, one day he's going to be the captain of your team. And without a doubt, he's taken on this role, and that's been a big part of our success.
Scott, 35 games to go, starting tomorrow with practice, where everybody's back from the bye week and the All-Star break. And we know, and it's been talked about, that the game gets harder to play over the last final 35 games. As the associate coach for the Jets, what do you and the rest of the coaching staff have to do in order to sort of make sure the players are dialed in for the final 35 regular season games, and then for a lengthy playoff run Jets fans hope for, of course?
Yeah, well, we obviously have a kind of a memory from last year that, the exact same time where it kind of went the wrong way on us. And it's, we have lots of guys in the room that lived through that. So first of all, we have that we can kind of not use, but also just be reminded of. But at the end of the day, it's every game, recognize the opposition. Everybody, when you're sitting near the top of the standings, you're getting the best of everybody else, and there's not a whole lot of easy nights. And we're going to have some races here coming down the line here, especially in our division with Dallas and with Colorado. So it's going to be every game is going to be so important. But I think that the lesson from last year is still kind of bitter taste in everybody's mouth, and we want to make sure that we continue to do what we're doing. And it's not turning something on, turning something off, and doing something different that we did in the first half. We have said right from the start of training camp that that defending and playing strong, solid defense was going to be the sort of the thing that helped us when it came to the second half of the year, when it came to playoffs. That's what wins. And we've been doing a really good job of that. It doesn't mean we take away from our offense. It doesn't mean we take away from scoring. But when we play like we have been without the puck, that's sort of the recipe that we've been building towards the playoffs. And hopefully for the next 35, that's what we continue to do.
I bet it'll be nice to get the full roster together for the first time since the second game of the season.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Obviously, get Sean in there, kind of get our looks. Like our depth now, whether I don't know, we haven't 100% decided, but our fourth line could be like Vladdy with Iafallo and Barron and Kupari. Like all our looks now are a whole lot different now that Sean's in here. We obviously getting Lowry back to his line that was been so good for us with Nino and with Apple. Those three guys, they were dominant for the first half of the year. So we had to move Lau kind of out of that because of the Scheifele injury. This is exciting now. We get some real good looks coming down, having our full lineup together.
Scott Arniel, Winnipeg Jets associate coach. I hope as grandpa you get to go spoil your granddaughter now. We'll let you get back to that. Thanks so much for joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll see you at the rink. I guess tomorrow. We're back at it.
All right. Well, thanks, fellas. Great talking to you guys.
Take care, Scott. Thanks very much for joining us. There he goes, Scott Arniel, joining us this morning. Great interview with the Winnipeg Jets associate coach.